on, so you have a quorum and you're live streaming now.
Okay. Why don't we call this meeting to order and just take a moment of silence. Amen. And we don't have any old business.
Well, Councilman Gregory, I'm sorry, I didn't put this on the agenda and I should have, but it kind of is old business.
Sure.
The committee had asked us for a report of employees who are currently eligible for retirement.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to start with that under old business and
Would you please? Thank you.
Thank you. Heather, can you go ahead and
Councilman Gregory, we need to do approval of the April 13th minutes.
Oh, I'm
Thanks.
sorry, you're right.
Thanks, Greg. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I hear a second?
I'm not able to second because I wasn't at the last meeting, so.
And I don't know if the chairman can either. I'll second it. All in favor say aye.
I guess we need to, do we need to defer it or?
Why don't we wait until someone else gets on? I know we do that in terms of having chairmen to make the motion. I just don't know.
The mayor's on his way in. He should be on the call in a second.
Okay, sounds good. So why don't we just move on to the old business and we'll do the minutes last, okay? I'm gonna turn it over to you, Kay.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Gregory. Heather, can you put the slide, go ahead and start the slideshow? We have a slide that Isabel put together for us. It's the number of employees who are eligible for retirement by department.
Okay, can you see that?
No, not yet.
Let's see. All right, how about now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
And this is the number of employees who are eligible to retire as of May 1, 2023. And the difference in the lines, if you look at the key at the bottom, the orangish line is all employees eligible to retire. The green line represents management, employees who are in the management who are eligible to retire now. Now we can drill down a little further on this, depending on how you guys would like to see it. But I thought as a start, we would just kind of give you a snapshot and show you what it looks like right now.
Okay, the numbers at the bottom, are they percentages or actual numbers? The 5, 10, 15, 20, 25?
I believe, Isabel, aren't those?
Those are actual numbers
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
on this one. Some of the slides will be percentages, but those are numbers.
Okay, that helps.
So, so that's what we look like at the moment. But again, we have the ability, we can forecast it out, for a future meeting, depending on how, if you guys would like to see it in a different format or see it in a different way.
I mean, this is pretty revealing. What were the total numbers though across the board? Do we have a total?
Give us just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Heather and Isabel have the detail that are attached to the actual slide.
Ms. Cross, would it be possible to, I don't know what I'm asking here, but would it be possible to look at this as a percentage of the total workforce in each department?
Yes. I'm answering. Isabel's the one that'll have to do it, but I'm Isabel.
Isabel, is that am I asking you to do a Herculean task or something not terribly difficult?
Yeah, no problem.
I think the percentages would be most helpful.
I agree.
All right, we will put that in our notes to prepare for our next meeting.
Mhm.
Right.
All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I'm sorry.
It's pretty It's quite interesting, to say the least, okay, in terms
Yes.
of those eligible for retirement.
Yes,
And
sir.
as Bill said, it's 184 is the total.
Okay. And can we forecast, based on past activity, how many of that 184 may retire within the next, let's say, year? And then,
I don't know. I know we could definitely look at who will be eligible in the next year or maybe even 2 years, but what they'll actually do, I don't know. That we can look at that and see.
well, I guess what I'm asking is if we go back and look at the numbers, let's say last year, the same time,
Mhm.
and just determine based upon that number within a year, how many actually did retire?
We could certainly look at the number of employees who
I
retired.
don't think I can pull, the problem is we have to pull out of two different systems. So
Okay,
the eligible comes out of PIBA's system, and those are set reports that I can pick a future date
mhm.
to run it as a. I don't think I could pick a past date, but I'd have to ask them if they have that data to share. And then
Okay,
we marry it up with our system, because we have a lot of people who may have come to us from another government who
Mhm.
have prior service.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we can get to projections, that's all.
We can look at that, Councilmember Gregory, and see if we can come up with some reasonable projection. It's just, employees are a little hard to predict in this area because as I think we talked about at our last meeting, you have everything from, Ms. Fellers who retired after 50 years with the
Right.
city. Then you have some people, the day they hit that 25 or 28 year mark, I mean, they're retiring and everything in between. So it's just, it's a little bit difficult to forecast, but we could look into see if would come up with something based on maybe who's retired in the last year or two. Who were
Yeah,
eligible.
that's what I'm talking about, just to see whether or not we can find out whether or not there's some kind of pattern
Okay,
that we can say in 23, 24, based upon the past, 50 people may retire. That's all I'm trying.
And we also have a number of working retirees with us. They are not included in this number. But
Okay.
we have people who may have retired and continued to work with us, return to work.
Okay. Those numbers should be quite interesting, I think. So let's see what we can do with them.
okay, we will,
Appreciate it.
Miss
of course.
Miss Pope, on you mentioned the employees that they've retired, meaning they're drawing state retirement, and then they're also working. Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood what that meant. Thank you.
Sure. And they've changed the rules over that several times during, the last 10 years. At one point, you could retire and return after, I think it was 15 days, and then it became 30 days. And then they put earnings limits in place. There are some people who are exempt from those earnings limits because they retired and they were at age 62 or older and weren't subject to those. They've put a new provision in place now that says if you separate from state service or from PIBA service and you were gone 12 months, you can retire and return without earnings limits. So every time we think we have it straight, they make a little tweak to it.
And that's all governed by PIBA, right?
That's all governed by PIBA. But the latest, allowing people to come back after 12 months is at least helpful, where it provides a little bit of flexibility where you might have somebody who wants to return and not have that earnings limit.
Okay.
Any other questions about the retirement slide?
Nope. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, all right, well, Heather, let's move on to our normal staffing and
Sure.
retention reports.
Sure. So in looking at this on the non-sworn, which is at the top, we have basically filled 19 more positions. So we're, am I saying that right, Isabel? Now that I'm looking at it. I'm trying to read off of two screens. So anyway, we filled 19 sworn vacancies since last month. One additional fire vacancy, and then 7 additional police vacancies in the month of April. The PD vacancies earlier in the year were due to more retirements. Were they retirements in April too? I think that was more earlier in the year. I know there at least one within April that I talked with was a retirement. So the fire department has currently 31 vacancies, police department 50 vacancies, and then non-sworn 258 vacancies. And looking at these numbers kind of compared to where we started the year in January, in the fire department overall, we have filled 12 vacancies since January. In the police department, we have 15 more vacancies since January. And then in the non-sworn, we've filled 47 vacancies. So that just kind of gives you year to date. And then looking at employee count from the beginning of the year to now, as of the end of the year, 12/31, we had 1,701 employees. And as of the end of April, we have 1,740. Staffing levels, for the fire department, the staffing level is at 92%. That's the same as the prior month. For the police department, it's 89%. That's down 3% from last month. And then on the non-sworn side, it's at 78%. That's up 1% from last month. We talked last month about looking at vacancies. So we added some information in here, and we thought we would start with the departments where we've got more vacancies, and then kind of move maybe each month, highlight 3 to 4 departments and take a deeper look at what vacancies they might have. So here we've got the and Lindsay, I might be stepping on your toes here. We've got the Parks Department with 40 vacancies, and of those, we've got 15 requisitions to fill positions. With the Parks Department, I don't have details on this, but I know that they have some of their work that's accomplished through contracts, not necessarily temporary employees, but contracted services. So I don't know that 40 is necessarily a true reflection. Some of that work gets done by an outside contractor. These numbers do take into account people that we have in process as far as hires. People, we've got an orientation group, a significant group starting on Monday. And then we also have some of these roles that are filled through agency temps. They wouldn't be reflected on our payroll. So we've backed those numbers out, the people who are incoming hires, and then the roles that are filled through agency temps. The Stormwater Department has 26 vacancies, 9 of which have been requisitioned to fill. And then Public Service, 27 vacancies with 18 requisitions requesting to fill. And then Traffic and Transportation, 22 vacancies with 12 requested to fill. And we're going to go forward in the future slides and dive into each department broken down by division. So here with the vacancy rates, this is the Parks Department. This shows you each division. It's important to note that, and I think that's maybe a note on future slides, some divisions as we go through this are pretty small. So when it looks like a high percentage, that may be because there are only several people within that division. So here, we've got none at the ballpark. At Parks Admin, it's slightly under 20% there. Capital Projects is showing a little bit over 20%. Facilities Maintenance, probably about 16-17%. Grounds Maintenance is about 24%. Construction is about 37%. And then electrical about 22%.
So Heather, can I ask a question? Just
Yes,
while
sir.
you're on Parks?
Sure.
And so you said there were 40 vacancies. So among those vacancy rates there, that would represent 40 positions amongst those different divisions.
That's correct.
There might be 2 in administration and 2 in capital projects and 10 in grounds maintenance, something like that.
Sure.
Something.
Isabel, do you have those numbers in front of you?
And,
Okay.
but they're only asking right now for 15 to be filled, right? There's only requisitions to fill 15 of the 40 positions.
That's correct. Now, I
So-
do know that some of those are, I think, not anticipated to be filled. As I mentioned, I think I've been told over the years, and Jason would definitely have more detail than I would, but certain things like maybe maintenance of beds within the medians in certain parts of the city might be handled through an outside contract versus completed through our employees. And so I think some of those vacancies go towards those costs, but they would have more details on that than I would.
Those are the
Oh.
indefinite quantity contracts.
And I got to share, when I went to our job fair and went around the different departments, and I asked, well, how many positions are y'all hiring for? There were a number of divisions and departments that only had, like, they said, only got 2 positions we're hiring. You know, it made an impression on me that there were a number of tables there where they weren't really, they claimed they didn't have a lot of jobs available. And it seems contrary to our numbers when you tell me we got 200 and something positions available, and you walk around the table, well, we're only hiring 1 person or 2 people there. There's a little disconnect here between our budgeted positions and what our departments seem to be asking for.
But Mr. Mayor, couldn't, and I think I understand, while there may be this number of vacancies due to the indefinite quantity contract, and some of the monies for those vacancies are going to pay for the indefinite quantity contracts to take care of certain things that need to be done in these areas. I mean, that's how I would explain it.
And some of them might be duplicate positions, like groundskeepers. They got 8 positions open, and they don't want to put all 8 out at one time. They want to fill 2 or 3 of them before they put the rest of them out. I don't know, maybe that kind of thing happens too. But
Or 6 of them are being taken care of. 6 of them may be taken care of through an indefinitely quantity contract of some sort. Is Jason on?
Jason's not on the call, but
Okay.
I just using that as example. I mean, you could pick any of these and ask the same question, really. Stormwater, we got 26 vacancies. We got budgeted positions. Why are we only have requisitions out for 9? Why aren't we trying to hire more of those positions? You follow me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Mayor, I think that, for example, for construction workers, we have, a good many vacant construction workers. And I think that they, as they get the applications in and fill them, they quickly, it's not a very difficult process for them to call us and say, oh, I've got some, I know some more applicants. I want to open another requisition. I mean, so I think they just kind of process them and work through them as they have them. So, we're just kind of showing what we have in the approval system right now. But again, they are budgeted positions. It's a little bit of a time consuming process to go through and to get the apps and, to interview and go through. So, Lindsay shared with me that happens, fairly often, is where she'll get a call from a department and say, okay, I got a little influx of applications. I think I need to open up another 1 or 2 recs. So that's not a difficult thing to do.
All right. So.
Do we have this broken down into vacancy rates by department? 8%, 10%?
We do, but I will say that when we started looking at that, there were several things that came up, and I'm trying to remember, Isabel. There's some where they complete that work through agency temps, so it looks a little bit off. It may look like they're not 100% staff, but they're getting the work done in another way. If you look at the percentages by division, and it's a 2-person division and 1 person isn't there, it looks 50% vacant. But we'll show you kind of in more detail for these departments. And then we were planning on featuring recreation and several other departments at next month's meeting, particularly since recreation would have done a lot of their summer hiring by then.
Now, this question may be sort of off, but I need to ask it anyway. When we offer positions and let's say they say no, even though they apply, do we ever find out any follow-up as to the reason why they may not have accepted the offer?
We
And
definitely ask, and Lindsay can probably speak to that better than anyone, our recruitment coordinator.
okay, because
Yes, we do indeed ask that information, and we have gotten a variety of reasons that we have tried to keep up with, but 9 times out of 10, the candidate bows. If they bow out of the position, they're not willing to share why, but we certainly do ask to see if we can still try to retain that recruit.
okay.
And we also try to make sure that we kind of keep that, I guess, relationship going with that candidate to say, you know, if something doesn't work out, please continue to think of us as a future employer. And we had that happen a few weeks ago where somebody who'd rescinded our offer accepted another job and then started that job and said, this is not for me. And they said, have you filled my role yet? And we were able, we had not filled their role yet, and we were able to onboard them, I think, last orientation.
I think that
Yes.
was Stormwater, wasn't it, Heather? Wasn't that a
It was.
Stormwater employee? Okay, I thought so.
I just think that's interesting information because it sort of it could help us in terms of addressing quote unquote a potential shortcoming as to why they didn't take it. And what I'm getting at is more affordability than anything else, whether or not they say it's housing cost or something of that sort.
I suspect that in a lot of cases, Councilmember Gregory, it's pay. A lot of times when employees apply with us, they're not just applying with us, they're applying with several different organizations, and sometimes they wait to see either which one comes through first, which offer comes through first, or which one, you know, is gonna pay the highest. And then they make those decisions based on that, which is another reason why it's so important for, you know, the applications we do get for, you know, the hiring managers to look at them quickly, to look at them, review them while they're, you know, pretty fresh in the pipeline, because again, it's rare that someone's just going to put an application in with the city of Charleston. If you're looking for a job and especially if you're unemployed, you're going to probably be putting in 5 or 6 applications.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the vacancy rates within the divisions and parks? All right, then we've got stormwater. So we've got about a 10% vacancy rate in the project floodplain management division. In the stormwater division itself, we've got no vacancies. That would be mainly administration, department head, admin support. And then in stormwater management system maintenance, you've got, it looks like that's about what, 42%, Isabel?
Yes.
Now with those, I know that they have received some applications, and looking at the postings that we have, for example, for the construction workers, they've got candidates there, and some are awaiting review at this point. Public service, this gives you a breakdown of their divisions. So with environmental services admin, we've got about 11% vacancy there. Fleet management is about 12, and then engineering is a little bit over 20. Keep in mind there that those some of those are smaller divisions. For example, engineering has
It has 9 people.
has 9 people. So if
Environmental services admin is also small.
and environmental services is also small, so that drives those percentages up. Garbage collection has a vacancy rating there of about, it looks like about 16-17%. I believe that's more on the collector side than the drivers themselves. Streets and sidewalks is about 12%. Trash collection is about 25%, and street sweeping is about 23%. And then traffic and transportation, their numbers are largely being driven by parking management and vacancies with the PEOs. I think they're probably a good example of what we talked about earlier, where they might have a number of vacancies and they open up requisitions for maybe 10 of those, try to get those filled, and then try to move on to fill others. I know that Lindsay's gotten a meeting set up with the manager, Tyrone, to take a look at some of those candidates and help him in reviewing those applications. Any other questions about the vacancy rates before we move on to turnover?
I got a couple of questions. All right. So you had parking management. Is that, I know that, you know, that we have that contracted out, but we have a good many employees handling that in addition.
That's the parking enforcement officers.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So you're right. The garages are contracted out.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
that wouldn't reflect that. That would reflect the parking enforcement officers.
Okay. And I saw you had trash collection and you had garbage collection. So that's two different positions, I guess.
Two different divisions.
Okay.
And more of a vacancy there with trash than with garbage.
All right. And certainly I know we have you know, we have contractors doing that. Do you know how we compare to our contractors that we have? Do you know what their vacancy would be? Any idea? I mean, are we in line, or are we just way out of whack on that?
I know that they're always hiring because we also are always going on their site to see what they're paying and try to do a little investigative work there. But they always seem to be hiring. I don't know what sort of vacancy rate they run. Do you, Lindsay, do you have any idea on that?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Sure.
I will say, Councilmember Shealy, it's just interesting because most of the time I've been with the city, we've had more trouble filling the garbage division positions as opposed to trash, and it's sort of flipped on us a little bit, and now we have a higher vacancy rate in trash. I'm not sure why that is. Matt Altop might be able, he could probably give us a little more maybe information on that. It seems like that. I don't know. I don't really understand exactly why that has shifted. Seems like in the past, like I'd say year to 2 years, Heather, would you say we've sort of seen that trend?
And we do pay the garbage a little bit higher because of the difference in those two jobs. So that may account for it. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions about those rates? All right, well, we will move on to turnover. Hang on. Total turnover. This is through April of each year. So going back and looking from 2014 to present and looking compared to last month, FD had a decrease. They went from 3.28 from 4.97. And then, sorry, that's from 2022. And right now they are trending at 1.69. With the police department, they show an increase from last year to this year of 0.91, from 0.91 to 3.69 in 2022, right now at 4.60. And then we're reflecting on the non-sworn side 4.83, and that's a decrease from the prior year that was 9.49. Any questions about that slide?
Any idea with the police going up like that, any idea how many of those people were hitting their retirement, or what percentage of the ones?
After our last meeting, Cassandra McSwain with the police department, so the administrative services manager, was working with their team to pull some data, and she's going to be sending you all some more details that show, I think her data was going to look at 2021, 22, and then first quarter of 23
Okay.
to give you a breakdown of separations and retirements or reasons that they provided for separation.
Okay.
And then this is a projection so far for annual turnover. So the fire department is at 4.58 looking annually. If we look at the historical projection on that, and that's down 0.6% from last month. And they're also making great progress with the July class. They've got good numbers as far as applicants go. And so, so looking to have a good sized class start in July. And then with the police department, that 15.15% is up from last month. They also, in looking at 2023 separations, January has been a high month. I think some of that we talked about earlier was attributed to people that may have usually decided to retire in December, but with the upcoming increase, they may have stayed on board till January. So we had, I think, about 7 to 8 leave in January and then 7 leave last month. Typically, the months in between February and March were 4. So, so I think both April's numbers and January numbers are what's driving that. So we'll see what May looks like and how that affects the trend. And then with the non-sworn, I'm looking right now at trending at 14.23%. So that's up 0.01 from last month, but still looking much better than last year's number. Any questions about the turnover numbers? All right, I will turn it over to Lindsay Mazzell, that's our recruitment coordinator, to give a recruitment update.
All right, hello everyone. So we're looking at the job posting views application. Citywide, the hits have increased about 9% from last month, with a total hit of 98,142. Applications have also, citywide applications have decreased approximately 7.5%, with a total applications of 1,579. And then citywide postings have increased approximately 3.2%, with a total postings now up to 471. Any specific questions about this graph?
Sorry.
All right, moving on to the next one. Looking at conversion rates and average applications per posting. The average application per posting has decreased by 10.4% from last month, going from 3.74 to 3.35. The citywide conversion rate has decreased by 0.2%. Any questions on this graph? All right, and then just put together, I know we've talked a little bit about efforts to kind of back up that data and what efforts we're doing to try to attract more talent. We had a great job fair for the city. We had over 138 job seekers that we were able to track through Eventbrite, which is the analytics that I used for tickets, if you will, for people coming in. Even the day of the job fair, I recall several departments, especially public service, mentioning that there was a increase that day, upticks in terms of applications that were coming through just from the buzz of the job fair. We had 24 departments that were there in participation. And we were very grateful for the mayor to come in and take the terrible job that I had to do the prior year and award a trophy to the departments for their presentation of their booth. Little healthy competition. So that was a lot of fun. Over on the left-hand side, you can kind of see a list of the different areas in which we do try to advertise ongoing, especially for the job fair. And then a full list of the spring job fairs that have been attended. up the below. The last one that's up and coming will be on the 23rd for the North Charleston Business Expo, where there's over 400 booths from around the Tri-County area. It's one of the largest in the area, so we're excited to be a part of that. And then the next slide, I just wanted to highlight some of the creativity and engagement we had there at the city throughout the different booths that were present. And the last slide that I wanted to talk about is something that's been an initiative since the federal government has applied additional rulings for CDL drivers for companies. And I have to give a lot of praise to Rick Markowitz and Safety for putting together this comprehensive program to make sure that as a city, we are compliant for the commercial driver's license process. Prior to February of 2022, applicants could take the CDL permit test, and there was a lot of best practice of them riding with another CDL driver and practicing their post and pre-trip inspections. And now we're able to, now that the FMCSA is requiring upgrading the CDL holders to go through an entry-level driver training class that's going to cover different areas. The theory, which is, of course, the online learning all the things on how to be a CDL driver, range and behind the wheel training. All of this can be done several different ways, but if we looked into private companies where the cost was approximately $6,000 or implementing your own program, it was a very expensive way to do it. And so Rick did a great job along with the safety team to look through some other options. And we've chosen to create our own ELDT program. And we were able to get signed up with the FMCSA as a registered training provider. And basically how it works is we work through the truck driving school on the West Coast. It's $25 per CDL driver to go and take the training test. They also have access to a variety of software to identify the training needs they need for the certification. And then they'll work through the program and work with a licensed supervisor, which all can be done on their own time. And some of it can be done on the job. So there's no days away from work, which was what we were partially concerned about as well. We're able to retain employees and give them additional skill sets by also getting them compliant. So fingers crossed, we have our first employee that's scheduled to take the test on the 16th out of urban forestry. So knock on wood, all that's going to go well. And then once we kind of identify that that's gone well, we're going to continue to utilize this program. And it's only $2.99 a month for the low price of $2.99 a month to obtain the certification. So it's been a large undertaking, but we are really excited that we are getting a process in place for this. Any questions?
I think another good thing, Lindsay, too, that that we were able to do with this program versus sending somebody to a Trident Tech or a Miller Mott program is obviously the cost savings and having them on the job, but also training them for a CDLB primarily, which is what we need. You know, these other programs only offer CDLA training, so we can customize the training more to the equipment that they'll be using versus having them spend extra weeks training on equipment that they would not need.
Exactly. Good point. Any questions?
Yeah, just to clarify, so when we're putting people through this training, are they already employees, or this is pre-employment, or how are we working that?
Great question. These are for our current employees. And another point too, Councilman Shealy, is that if we have someone that's in a construction worker position and whatnot, they're looking for a succession planning. This is also an opportunity to offer that for people moving into these type of roles.
Okay.
But it is for current employees. That's correct.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? All right.
Right. So anyway, we are very hopeful this is going to help solve our CDL, licensed employees. We've been kind of struggling with this for several years. So I think it's a really great opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity for us to fill some positions that require CDLs, but as Lindsay mentioned, also a great opportunity to offer some advancement for some of our employees who may want to move up in the organization. So we're very excited about it. We really appreciate everyone's help and coordination in getting this up and going.
Any more presentations in this regard?
No, sir. If there are no more questions, I think that we can move on to the Medicare proposal, although it has been suggested to me that since we're discussing legal opinions that we consider going into executive session.
Sounds great to me.
So I don't know how to do that. I'll leave that up to you, Councilmember Gregory.
That's funny.
I'll make a motion. We go into executive session, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye. Now
Aye.
who's gonna get us there? Jennifer's not there. Jennifer left. What, Donna? Who is working on this for us? I don't know how to put us in another room.
Hi, Councilman.
Yes.
Oh, hi, hi, Councilman Gregory. I'm not sure how you guys would go into.
I see Jennifer connecting. Hang on.
Okay.
I just joined. I'll put you into
I don't know how
I'll
to
put you
us
into
in
a
another-
breakout room.
Thanks, Jennifer.
1 moment. We need to stop.
Councilman.
We need to stop the Donna.
Hi, Councilman Gregory.
Donna, this is Jennifer.
How you guys would go? Yeah, Jennifer.
I see Jennifer connecting.
I just joined. I'll put you into
I don't know how
I'll put you into a breakout room.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Sorry about that. All right. So
No, I'm sorry.
I actually, Donna, if you can make me host, because I need to stop our live stream.
Okay, how do I make you host?
Sorry. Hold on 1 second. If you can go up to my name and you see where there's a box with ellipses. Actually, I think I can do it on my end. Okay.